Back in the prime of my youth, I was gifted by the gods with a great show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It followed the story of Aang, or if you're a psychopath, Ung, on his adventure to defeat the Fire Lord while going through these small minutia cracks to become the greatest of all time, learning the elements of water, earth, and then fire, his most difficult element because it represented what he thought was a destructive element when air is more flowy and things of that variety. It was truly a show that made me think to myself, wow, this is peak. And it felt like somehow an accident that we were allowed to get something so monumental growing up, something so amazing and powerful. How could we ever recreate that? Are we ever going to recreate that? Well, no, we're not going to recreate Avatar: Last Airbender ever again. That's not going to happen ever. But what we did get was the Legend of Korra. Now, the complete opposite, where we had a bald little white kid. We now have a Inuit women. She was amazing. Korra, wanting to accept her Avatar lineage. Aang, negligent to even be a part of what it was to be an Avatar, running away from his responsibilities, scared because he was losing out on his childhood, and he wanted to enjoy that. Most Avatars untold their Avatars until they're 16. Korra ended up having the entire ability of being an Avatar. She came out earthbending, firebending, waterbending, but not airbending. As natural with the Avatars, the last Avatar's element is the one they have the most difficulty with, as we see Aang have an issue with fire, as Avatar Roku was a natural firebender, and Korra having an issue with airbending, as Aang was a natural airbender, having issues with the spirit world when Aang was very in touch with the spirit world, making his spirit journey easy, and him going into the Avatar state easy. Korra has to go through that entire journey by herself. People have an issue with this show, because it is the exact opposite of the Avatar of The Last Airbender. Why do they have an issue with this show? I've always discovered and wondered this. I've discovered something very, very interesting about The Legend of Korra, why they hate it. The writing sucks. Without a doubt. I think the writing is horrible. I think the beautiful thing about Avatar: The Last Airbender is the fact that we didn't see the main villain of the entire show. We heard about him, but we didn't hear about him or see him until the last book. Book 3, Fire. That is when we saw the Fire Lord Ozai, the big, imposing, powerful menace. He is narcissistic, sociopathic, callous, abused his wife. He's basically every husband in the 1940s. He is insane. We love to see him. Fire Lord Ozai. Why was he so monumental to us? Because we didn't know what he was. We knew that he burned Zuko, the person that was chasing down the Avatar. The only reason Zuko even tried down the Avatar was simply for the fact of the matter of getting his father's approval and getting his honor back. That was beautiful, and we love to see it. All these things, overcoming trauma, generational trauma of the Fire Nation, Azula even with her trauma, being subjugated in a young age. Azula's like 11. She's young, she's a child, she wears shoulder pads and heels to seem tall and imposing and wears lipstick and makeup to make her feel like an adult, but she's not, she's just manipulative and psychotic. That is what war does to people. But with The Legend of Korra, there is no war. There is no war, there's relatable villains now. Amon, you can understand why the non-benders will be so upset by everything, wanting to reform and reshape Republic City. We can understand that because we're non-benders. We don't have superpowers. I imagine if superheroes existed nowadays, we'd want to find some way to level the playing field. I understand that, and I grasp that, and I get that, and that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me, right? It does. And I understand that. The Legend of Korra is a perfect show because it's the exact opposite of Avatar: The Last Airbender. While Avatar: The Last Airbender had amazing, great writing, Korra did not. Korra didn't have a central plot narrative. It didn't have one villain, had 4 villains. Avatar: The Last Airbender basically just had the Fire Lord. There were other small villains in between it, but those weren't really villains. Azula was an antagonist, but the main big villain was Fire Lord Ozai, the big crux of everything. That is what it was. That's what was happening. A powerful bender Ozai was. He believed in moving forward and pushing. Korra is a self-discovery journey. Korra is much older than Avatar Aang, so she's not going through the same things as Avatar Aang. They ruined the love triangle by having all these characters, Bolin, all this nonsense. Asami was there for no reason, just nonsense going on over and over again. Unalaq, which was basically Shao the Hedgehog, the Dark Avatar. We didn't even get to see him use all 4 of the elements. If he's a Dark Avatar, shouldn't he have at least the sub-bendings or something? Something of that variety. Strange. 3rd season, everybody hails this is an amazing season. They say this is the best season. Season 3, just wait for season 3. It's here. Seeing an evil Avatar, that was amazing. You love to see it. However, I still didn't like this because of what we had to go through to get to this. Amon in concept was beautiful, in practice was horrible. Unalaq in concept could have been good, but in practice was horrible. Zahir was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. Zahir, the whole thing with that was pretty awesome. I loved it. Then we get the trauma of Korra, the trauma of her self-discovery, the trauma of what she had to go to be a person. And that, to me, was beautiful. However, these are the points where people get mad at The Legend of Korra. They get angry about the show. They get upset that the fact of the matter of, well, it's not like the Avatar Last Airbender. It's not going to be. If you want more Avatar Last Airbender, rewatch Avatar Last Airbender. This is a completely new character, completely new journey. While Aang shied away from his responsibilities, Korra welcomed it. She wanted to. She was trained to be an Avatar, but she didn't get to see the world. Aang had nothing but freedom, and he wanted to see everything. He did everything. He explored, he experienced. Korra wants to fix things. Aang wants to find a peaceful resolution without violence. Korra wants to do this. This is seen so adamantly that we're not getting the same show as soon as we get introduced to what I feel set the precedent for the entire Legend of Korra. The Pro Bending League. Notice how they bend in the Pro Bending League. It's boxing, it's hooks, no martial arts, no flowy movement, nothing of that variety. That isn't what the Avatar Last Airbender was supposed to be. It is not big magical Gundam mecha fights like the ending of seasons 2 and 4 would have you believe. It is beautiful, fluid, amazing movement with the air nomads, with their flowy movement, with water, with their sensual motions. Earth, grounded, fire, fierce, all these motions, actually hiring martial artists to show the motions, doing motion capture, using the reference points between these things to show the difference in styles. That is the beauty of Avatar Last Airbender, and that was near void when it came to The Legend of Korra, when we saw the Pro Bending League. And I think Korra is a perfect show. I think it's a perfect show because it shows what the consequences of Aang was, what the consequences of industry are, and what the consequences of not having a war or moral conflict are. There is no universe in which you could stop or even make the world building of Avatar Last Airbender better. Because Avatar Last Airbender was working on 100 years. It was working on 100 years of buildup. The Avatar disappeared. He was no longer to be found. Where was he? He ran away. 100 years the Fire Nation got to ridicule, destroy, annihilate. 100 years we got that. 100 straight years of that. And then Aang comes back. The return of the hero. The return of the monarch. The return of the one who will be the union between worlds. He brought everything together. And that was beautiful to me. And I love that. Why did you want more than that? Why did you crave more than that? You crave more than that because we wanted that again. We wanted it again because it was something special. It was something unique. It was something we'd never seen before. It was something so different, so deeply different than everything else. And that's scary, isn't it? When we don't get what we want, we get something else. A completely different story. And I respect Korra, and I love it. I think it's a perfect show. Because without Korra, we wouldn't know how deeply we needed Avatar Last Airbender. Without Korra, we didn't realize how deeply we loved Team Avatar. They tried to recreate Sokka, they tried to recreate all these things. Without Korra, we wouldn't have these things. And now we have Korra. Some people consider this show horrible. By itself, if this was a regular show, it'd be amazing. If this weren't compared to its contemporary, oh, it'd be godlike. However, it is compared to its contemporary, and that's where the issue lies. It is trying to be Avatar Last Airbender, is what you think. No, the show is trying to be Legend of Korra. It is the Legend of Korra, not Avatar The Last Airbender. It is the Legend of Korra. It is showing Korra bringing airbenders back, getting the spirit world back in its totality, showing the struggle, the turmoil. Not every Avatar's journey is the same. You want the same thing? No. Sure, you could say the writing could have been better. 100% the writing could have been better. I'm not even going to argue that. I'm not going to say anything about the writing. I'm not even going to argue against you saying that you are 100% correct. The writing could have been better. I will say that 100% of the time. However, it is still on its own merit a show that expands the Avatar universe, and we should appreciate what we got. We should appreciate it. So many people online saying, oh, this is not as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender. Obviously, yeah, we know that. I'm not contesting that. But on its own merits, by itself, is it not a fun watch? Is it not great? Take away Avatar: The Last Airbender and just watch Legend of Korra. Just enjoy that. Sure, we have references and allusions, and everybody was so excited to see Uncle Iroh. Everybody was so excited to see that Zuko was alive. Everybody was so happy to see all these separate things. However, I say this as somebody that has enjoyed media for quite some time. The Legend of Korra is a perfect show because it shows you exactly what happens when you take away legacy, when you explain your magic. Avatar 1, explaining the magic. Star Wars episodes 1 through 3, explained the magic. Midi-chlorians. Dragon Ball Z Super explained the magic. S-cells. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? I don't know. I don't know why they try to explain the magic. The beautiful thing about Avatar is a new and interesting world of which we knew nothing about. We knew nothing about this world. It did very little world building besides giving us the premise of everything and showed us different things. So common was a platypus bear. So common were these things like flying bison. So common were these regular things going on, to and fro, back and forth. Nem and no. It was so natural, but then it explained its magic. It explained what was happening. We think we want explanations for this magic, but we don't. You don't want an explanation for the magic. You just want more of what you already had. You want to feel that feeling again. You want to feel that feeling inside yourself that you had when you watched that show as a child. But you're not going to get that because things change. When I first watched Toy Story, it was the greatest moment of my life. I love Toy Story so much, and I thought it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Toy Story 2, great movie. Toy Story 3, not so good. Toy Story 4, what are they doing? And I don't even know why they got Toy Story 5 in the mix. Incredibles 1 was such a good movie. Amazing. One of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so good. Because it worked with the premise of we don't have superheroes anymore, we gotta hide. It started off with a conflict that was new and interesting. But Incredibles 2, well, we gotta make everybody know that the heroes are back, that they gotta get them ready for it. Didn't we fix that issue at the end of Incredibles 1? No, we didn't. Why was Bob Parr in Incredibles 2 misogynistic? What's going on? I didn't feel the same feeling I felt when I watched Incredibles 1. Why is that? You even showed Jack's powers. I would have preferred to just guess. Just guess. I would have preferred to just guess. Because it ruins the discussion. It ruins what it could have been. When you create a mystery in something and you give an answer to that mystery and it's not satisfactory, you ruin your fan base. One Piece does this elegantly by barely explaining anything ever. Avatar: Last Airbender decided to not do that. Avatar, The Legend of Korra, all these shows. I think Legend of Korra is a perfect show because it gave me more of what I craved. But I wasn't full. I was still hungry. Wanting more. I love The Legend of Korra. And I hate when people talk bad about it. I really do. It's a good show. And it expands on the Avatar universe. And that's really all I wanted. And I'm happy to see more. And I hope that we get more of that. The live action sucks though. I'm not taking that back. Anyways, bye.